you can look at the pattern of growth and how the universe works, it's the same as the environment we're in. Every animal, every flower, every fingernail, every tree, everything, every frequency, is that translatable? It crosses all platforms. I wouldn't say that's fractal, but it is fractal because these representations move fractally, but they also move side by side via color, sound, light, so these different frequencies and vibrations get us in tune with our environment. And if this environment were outside, we can play something outside of us, it will affect us in the same way it would affect everything, because everything is that ratio of that frequency, of that pattern, that golden ratio. We are that as well. So the study of cymatics is a representation of water being affected by sound and vibration, by a frequency, and it comes into these shapes, which are sacred religious shapes a lot of the times, they're magic shapes. Okay, so this vibration will change the shape that comes to the surface of these petri dish, basically a small petri dish, some water, a little coffee in it, or a little food coloring, and they do shine lights on it. These lights don't just come out of the frequency. No, that's not how water works, I don't think. This is not iridescence. They just do it to make it stand. So you change the tone of the color, but the notes, once it hits and it balances itself out, it holds this shape. Okay, so we're, 80% water? We're basically cucumbers with anxiety. So if we play these frequencies around us, all of a sudden this makes a lot more sense. If we have an icosahedron shape and all of our water or matter cells are on that plan, if they would have an advantage communicating to each other, opening up the meaning of the word communicate a little broader, not through words or a song, but that relationship, cell to cell, organically, spiritual, it would affect us on a small molecular scale, cellular level, as it would affect the water. And could we use recipes, change feelings, change emotions, and emotions, because we feel how we feel. So you could diagnose, right? So this earth we live on, this dome, this enclosed system, has a resonant frequency that works with it. It's going outside, some guy singing, la la, what sounds the best? 432 hertz is where it's at. So, because we'll add up 4, 3, and 2, right? Adds up to 9, there we go, adds up to 9, 432. That's the A. One thing happened though. It got changed. So if you can look at the shape of the cymatic representation of 432 hertz, which adds up to 9, it creates an image which looks balanced, symmetrical, attractive, organic. It looks like it's almost looking back at you, observing you as you observe it. And then we'll look at, in comparison, the 440 tuning. Looks like bland, almost, it looks flat. A record that hasn't been pressed. It looks artificial. And those two resonances, worldwide, were the major general standard tuning for orchestras, modern composition of music, using the 12-tone chromatic. It got changed. One last symphony stood strong, and it was France. They said we will not tune our instruments to 440 hertz. We will stay at 430. We'll stay at 432. Like, you got to think, this happened at a time. It was the rockin', which doesn't have too much. They're not really rock and rollers. Those fellas, those Rockefellers, that family was, the push behind changing the tuning. Maybe that's why they really pushed to have things, removed out of society, like these bells. Maybe these bells were removed not for ammo and munitions in World War II, which was the reason, of course. Maybe they were removed for a different reason. Just like they changed the frequency. I say, the orchestras, a lot of money went into orchestras back in, I think it was the 1600s maybe, or 17, I'm not sure the year. I could look it up, but you can too. Someone in the comments wants to hit the year that the tuning was changed universally around the world. Now, when I heard this, I was like, that's mean. They changed the love frequency. I was into conspiracies. I was pissed about that one. But I digress. We can change our own frequency, that's for sure, Doctor.
Music is frequency programming. Music is frequency. What frequency are you being fed? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind, target the frequency to go to certain parts of the mind, and I can literally, if I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
The sad reality is that where we now play our music is in A440. Where did that come from? It used to be 417. A440 came in with the Roman Catholic Church. They suppressed the frequencies. They lost somehow the 152 of the best Gregorian chants, including the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which we've now recovered. That particular hymn was what triggered Dr. Palaio's investigation, looking for those frequencies of vibration by which the music was played. It was known as the most uplifting hymn of all the ages, the most spiritually uplifting hymn. Hymn to St. John the Baptist. It was played to 6 tones. These are those 6 tones. These are those 6 frequencies. And so the A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart-mind to the divine human communion.
Some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field of the room.
When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're grooving to the music, you love that music. As you get farther and farther away from the broadcasting tower, that music gets static. You start to lose the signal from the clear channel, broadcast, and it gets staticky. When it gets staticky, you get a little annoyed. But you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music. So you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted, you go, ah, and you shut it off. And if you continue to listen to it, you'd get sick. That's what we're talking about here. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static your whole life. You don't even know what the true resonant frequency is because it has been kept from you.
Now, of course, to really be effective, we need to use the proper words and phrases, scientifically selected. But that gives you the basic idea. We embed messages just below the threshold of perception, so they can go directly into the subconscious.
They can play across a community these frequencies without anyone knowing, and it starts to have an effect, and it starts to build rage, it starts to build anger, and people might not realize why they're feeling it, but they start feeling. And then what they do is they trigger that with an event. Maybe some guy is attacked by the police or something, or somebody's arrested for something they didn't commit, and now there's the trigger. The blue touch paper has been lit of this manufactured frequency-driven rage, and you have mass riots and what have you, and people do things that they wouldn't normally do.
So in other words, the master composer, master conductor of the Universal Orchestra is singing love songs in 5/8, uplifting everything simultaneously. And we're the only species out of tune and accepting static for the clear channel.
Do you know that the American military, they've admitted this. They have technology that fires frequencies at the enemy that basically breaks the enemy's spirit, so they give up and put their weapons down. This is the technology we're dealing with.